Let's work on the next section, creating color relief maps. This is a kind of interesting utility that GDAL provides, where you can create a rendering like this. So you might have seen some data where you have elevation data and you want to apply a color ramp to it. So let's say I'm in QGIS and I want to say I have this data. I just want to create a color version of this data. I can say I'll render this as using this color ramp. So let's say I'll use this ramp. And so now I've colorized this data. So I have now color representation. Blue is low elevation, yellow is high elevation. And this gives you kind of a useful way to interpret this data, where you are just simply assigning color values to ranges. You can say, 0 to 194 to 226 is this color, 226 to 258 is this color, and so on. So you're giving some color to individual values, and you're creating a colorized version of this. Let's learn how to do this. This is applications even beyond elevation data. If you have any single band raster and you want to visualize this, colorize that data, you can use this utility. I've used it quite a few times where you want to have a pipeline where you are producing some data, you want to create a color version of this for your website or for go with the data, and you can use this utility to create this. So let's learn how this utility works, and then we'll come to see the other application of that. So we're going to use this utility from the GDAL dem command called color relief. Let's see the documentation. So this is another mode that you can run the GDAL dem command using color relief. You give a text file which shows you what input values should be colored in what way. So you can say, I have elevation values from 0 to 1000. 0 to 100 would be this color, 100 to 200 would be this color, and so on. So you want to specify that as a text file. Next, you can say how to interpret the colors. So if you have 0 to 100, what does 0 to 100 mean? There are some few options to do this. Typically, we just say 0 to 100 exactly match that. Sometimes if you have floating point numbers, you can use the nearest color entry to make it put the correct one. Otherwise, normally it's not needed. So to create this, first we need to describe our colors. So here I have taken our data and said our data goes from 0 to 6,000 or so. This is how you colorize it. 0 to 1,000, put these three colors. This is red, green, and blue values of that color. How do I get this red, green, blue value? Well, you can go to any coloring software and say, what is the RGB value of this color? Typically, I just use QGIS. And I say, I like this palette, and I want to just say, I want to go from blue to yellow. I come to this color, and I say, what is the RGB value of this? So this is RGB 0, 30, and 69. This is a 3 value that produces this color, blue. So I would just pick those 3 colors and put this in this text file. So we have this values, we have created this text file, and then we can use this text file to assign the colors. Let's do this step by step. First, let's create this new file called colormap.txt. So you can open your favorite text editor, whatever text. You can use Notepad if you want to. You can just start a new text file, copy this values. So I'm going to copy this values and put it in a new text file, and I'm going to save this inside of this folder. So GDAL tools, SRTM, and we're going to name this as colormap.txt. So first step is we have created this colormap.txt. If I do ls, I should see this file colormap.txt in the same folder. This contains the mapping from elevation to different colors. There's a question on how did we actually get the color values. So if you want to get value of any color, you can use QGIS and say, I want this color, whatever I did. And in QGIS, when you have in color mode, it'll show you the RGB values. So say this particular color is 161, 187, 215 as R, G, and B values. So, and this works in any color software. So if you go to Photoshop, etc., you pick any color and you will see the RGB value of that particular color. And you can go and pick those RGB values from here. This particular tool is kind of adapted from the GRASS GIS software. That's why it follows the convention of the GRASS software. So it is kind of the convention of colors, etc., comes from that tool. Once we have this tool, we can run this command. So let's copy this command and we can run this here. So we say GDAL dem color relief, take the merge.tiff, apply the color map, and create a new file called colorize.tiff. Let's run this. And it'll now take this input values, and for each range, it'll say if the pixel value is 800, what is appropriate color? It'll color that pixel on that. And what you get is, again, a colorized raster. If I look at the GDAL info for this, you'll see that you get an RGB values. So this is kind of a rendered image. If we lost the original pixel values of elevation, we just get some color image. We have 3-band, 8-bit data, which is RGB. Let's look at what this image looks like. So we had our original data. So this was our original data, merged data. Let's look at the colorized version. And you can see this is a colorized image that we produced by running this command. Try this out and see if you're able to create this colorized image and then load it into QGIS to check how the black and white versus colorized version looks. Where would you use this? Well, I've used this quite often. Things like I'm having a pipeline that creates some flood prediction model. And I have a flood risk map that I'm creating. I have a raster that I'm creating with the flood risk. I want to now show this on a map and colorize and say red, green, blue. Red is the high flood zone, green is this thing. And I want to automatically create this color image because my clients want to just see this on a website, or I want to email them what's the result. So at the end, you produce this raster, 1-band raster, you use this and it'll give you a colorized output. And you can say, here's your image, and this is what we generated. Another example, batch processing. You have, say, an image. We have this example in the supplement. So let's say you have some nighttime lights image. Nighttime lights image is an intensity value. There are satellites that capture the image of the Earth at night, and you just get intensity. The brighter the pixel, the more lights were there. You want to create this kind of image for 100 cities of the world. So I have shapefiles of 100 cities, and I want to compare nighttime lights view of the city. So you can write a GDAL command that says, take this data, clip it to the shapefile, colorize this based on this color ramp, and produce me a PNG image. And suddenly you have this 100 image, which you can run in a batch, and you can now have colorized view. The typical workflow, if you want to do QGIS or ArcGIS, would be take each file, clip it, apply this color ramp, save it. So you can automate this whole process by using the GDAL time command. I've given the workflow if you want to try out this example. Again, you can use this tool with any file, including a file directly from a cloud bucket, apply this color map, and you have a colorized image of that. Now there's a question, are there any tools to select colors? Typically what you can do is if you have a ramp like this, you can click the save button and QGIS will allow you to save this color ramp as a text file. So you have this full kind of view of color ramp ranges and the color RGB values as a text file. So you can use that as your starting point to do the colors. So again, you can figure out what you want to do using some cartographic software. And then whatever you produce, you can now say, these are the ranges of my values. And I'll automate this using the GDAL commands.